What up, everybody? We're gonna do a quick little update. What's going on? So I actually had a coworker reach out to me, look me up, and come to find out, he has actually built several of these little turbojets and quite a few pulse jets. And he built a pulse jet engine and mounted it to I'd call it like a ski bike. It looks like a motorcycle with like snowmobile skis on it. And I was watching a video of that thing scooting across a frozen lake, and man, that thing is really badass. And this guy's super smart, real big into 3D printing, and he's got all sorts of experience. He's been more than happy to provide some assistance on this project. He came out last weekend, and I went through, tore the combustion chamber apart so he could take a peek at what was going on in there. And he's actually got some really good ideas, stuff that I might have overlooked. First and foremost was the fuel system. We'll start there. So what we have currently set up is 3 small fuel nozzles inside the flame tube inside the liner here. And he noticed there's some hot spots on the flame tube in there, and we think what's happening is it's spraying the ignited fuel onto the inner walls of that flame tube and getting it really hot. So what we're gonna do, he highly suggested doing away with the 3 small nozzles, and we're gonna do just 1 fuel nozzle in the center, and we'll probably block off 2 of these smaller nozzles, and we'll use one for a propane injection to get it started. Once it's started, we can switch over to the Caro or the diesel, whichever we run, and that'll make starting this thing probably a lot easier. And we can control the pressure through the 1 nozzle probably easier than the 3 separate nozzles. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll get rid of these, maybe just keep 1 for the propane. But anyway, yeah, that's where we're at with the fuel system. Also, he suggested we put in a check valve, so when we kill the pressure, we don't get residual pressure kind of dribbling fuel in there and creating a fire. So we don't want that. What else are we doing? Oh, the oil system. So the way I had the oil system was, try to think real quick. I had from the pump going into the filter, then I think it went from the filter through the cooler and then into the turbine, into the turbo here in the inlet, and then it goes through the bearings, and it just gravity feeds out of the bottom of the turbo back to the tank, and then tank to the pump. Adam kind of reminded me that the oil coming out of this turbine is going to be extremely hot. It's going to fill that tank. That oil tank is going to be chock full of super hot oil. The last thing you want to do is directly feed that hot oil back into the pump, for various reasons. Obviously, you want to increase, the life of the pump, but also I think with that hot oil, I might lose pressure. Anyway, so we rerouted the oil line. So now I'm going directly from the pump into the turbo, then to the tank, and from the tank it goes to the filter, then the cooler, and then back to the pump. So the pump is actually sucking the oil through that, from the filter through the cooler, and then this way I don't lose any pressure from the pump straight into the turbo. That's the idea. And it'll help, I think it'll help keep the system cooler. It'll definitely help keep that pump cooler, and all is well. Back to the fuel system, you notice I'm missing a tank. I have somebody welding the dash 6 fitting for the return line to the tank. That'll hopefully be done tonight. I can pick that up tomorrow, get the tank back in, hook up the supply line, which is just hanging there, but also I can finish fabricating the fuel return line, which is going to probably come back up here somewhere. So I've got, this is part of the return line, and I left myself some extra because I'd like to have the throttle valve is going to be on the return line to start with. I'll get back to that. I was going to mount the valve maybe to this little flat piece of support metal here. That way, I mean, it's within, reaching distance. I can control the throttle here, and all that's doing is just closing off the return back to the tank and forcing the pressure through the fuel nozzles. It works in theory, and I've been told it should work, but Adam said that it's not going to be like the best system. I might run into some controlling pressure to the nozzle doing that. So we'll figure something else out. There might have to be an actual, like a fuel pressure regulator put in the system somewhere. So we'll get to that when we get to that. I've got to do a little bit better wiring. This is fuel pressure, because I used to have the fuel pressure sensor down here. This is the fuel pressure. This is oil pressure. I used to have the oil pressure sensor down here, but I've relocated it up here right into the turbo, so I can get an accurate reading exactly how much pressure I've got feeding into the turbo. I just got to make this wire a little bit longer to reach over there. No biggie. Got some new gauges. I don't know if you guys saw. Some new EGT gauges came in, and I got those all wired in. Ran all the brand new wiring. So they look all nice and pretty, and hopefully they work. Just a side note. We're getting there. If I think of anything else, right off the top of my head, I know Adam has a YouTube channel he posts all of his cool little projects on. I will include that right below this video. On another note, afterburner. Yeah, I've been having some issues trying to source a cone that would fit. Ultimately, I need an 8-inch down to, I'd like to start with a 2-inch and be able to trim it back to control my EGT temperatures. And it's got to be about, preferably about 15 inches long. And sourcing this piece has been nearly impossible. And I've tried to reach out to some machine shops and some custom fab shops, and they pitched some different ideas. One being they could put it in like a brake, a sheet metal brake, and just like keep, it would have like a bunch of creases in it. I was like, nah, I don't want that. I want a smooth cone. So I reached out to the Rocketman himself, Bob Maddox, and he builds all sorts of pulse jet engines, and he's been doing it for a very long time. I'm quite a fan, actually. I've been watching his videos for a very long time, and I'm very impressed. His, not only does his pulse jet engines work, they're functional and they are very powerful, But I mean, when he puts them on these bicycles and the go-karts, like when the finished product is truly a work of art. I am highly impressed. I reached out to him and I'm like, look, I am having problems sourcing this cone. Nobody wants to help me because it's either they don't have the equipment or the order's too small. They need like a bulk of 100 before they'll consider my order, and I only need uno. So he said, yeah, no problem. I can make that. What gauge do you want? Probably 16 gauge is probably all we need. And so he's fabricating that up for us, and I'm stoked to have him and Adam kind of on the team Rocketman Mike, building his little death trap here. I'll include a link to both of their YouTube channels under this video. Definitely recommend you guys take a peek at their projects. You'll see, the scope of their craftsmanship and their knowledge and experience. I'm a huge shout out to those guys for helping me with this project.